Hello friends, welcome to a tour of the California garden in the month of January. So it's the first day of 2016 and it's a beautiful day here in Southern California. The sun is shining down, the skies are clear, and it's a beautiful day for gardening. So the first thing I'm gonna do in this episode today is to give you a tour of my garden. So these are the raised beds. These are the bean plants that I'm planning to grow on this trellis. However, the temperatures are very cold right now, so let's see how they do. The Sun King broccoli has been growing really well. I should be able to harvest this broccoli maybe in the next month or two. And moving on to the other side, I'm growing a lot of things here. There are some carrot seedlings which are trying to grow, some beets and some cilantro. We use a lot of cilantro though, so I try to grow it everywhere I can. And if you look at these are the cabbage plants. This bed of mine is not doing really well compared to the other beds, and I still have to find out why. These are the onions. These were supposed to be a 60-day variety, but due to the timing that I planted these onions, they're doing okay. These are the onion sets that I just planted in December. They have been growing well. They just started growing and they should be ready for harvest by late spring or early summer. And if you take a look at the kohlrabis here, these are doing really well, and I just have to make sure I protect them from the slugs and the rodents and stuff like that, but hopefully they'll do well and I should be able to get a really good harvest from this bed. White kohlrabi is one of the most delicious vegetables I've eaten. I highly recommend that you try growing it if you haven't tried it. It tastes somewhat like cabbage but has a very unique taste. I really like the taste of kohlrabi. And walking around here, these are some of the radish plants, the Minowase Radish, and as you can see they're growing pretty well. And these are a type of radish that takes a long time to mature. These are some more cabbage plants. In fact, I have so many cabbage and cauliflower plants that I am trying to grow it in a lot of pots around the garden. So let's look at some herbs that are growing in the garden. Cilantro, one of my favorite herbs and something that we use a lot. I love to grow cilantro all the time. Cilantro is also called coriander in some countries. However, the coriander actually refers to the seed of the plant and the leafy greens are called cilantro. But in any case, whether you call it cilantro or coriander, it's a great herb to grow in your garden. It will produce fresh leaves, and this is the best time to grow cilantro. It's a leafy vegetable or a herb, and it grows great in the winter season. Now, if you have trouble growing cilantro outdoors, I know a lot of you have told me that you have struggled growing cilantro. I'm also growing cilantro in this greenhouse, so you might consider that as an option. Just a small greenhouse, and you can see that the cilantro is growing really well in very small containers, and all these containers contain peat moss, vermiculite and worm castings and some compost as well. And as you can see, it's very easy to grow cilantro, whether you're growing it outside in your garden or you're growing it in the greenhouse. It's a very easy herb to grow in your garden. I'm also growing some dill. This dill variety is called Bouquet, and it's a great variety to grow. In January, I did harvest my ginger. As you might have known from my ginger growing video, I was growing a lot of ginger in my garden, and in January the temperatures dipped so low that the ginger plants started dying. You can see that the plants are turning yellowish brown. You can see the leaves, and this is a good time to harvest your ginger because the plant will eventually die, and you can still use some of the stems if you harvest them at this stage. So here is the ginger. It's a pretty decent harvest. You can see the ginger roots are well formed. Now it did not grow as large as some of the other ginger that I've planted, but still for the space that the plant was growing in, this is a good amount of ginger to use. And the ginger roots can be used, the stems can be used, and fresh ginger is so good that once you start growing fresh ginger in your garden, you will want to grow it again and again. The broccoli heads have started showing up now. You can see that the heads are formed, and I should hopefully be able to harvest these within the next month or two, and I'm going to see how they grow. These broccolis have grown really well. This is the Sun King variety of broccoli, and I would highly recommend that you can grow this variety. It's a great variety to grow in your garden. And as you saw from the December video, I also had Savoy Cabbage growing, and the heads are becoming more defined now. You can see it growing really well. And you can see that the Kohlrabi has started becoming thicker now, and within a month or two these should be ready for harvest as well. And this is the time when everything likes to eat kohlrabi. The slugs, rodents, if you have them in your backyard, they're everywhere, by the way. So you got to make sure you protect them somehow from all these critters. And I'm growing most of my kale in containers this season, but there are still some kale plants which are growing on this small raised bed that I have at the corner of the garden. And as you can see here, winter is the perfect time to grow kale. They grow really well. The leaves are pretty good, very healthy kale. And kale is something that I would highly recommend anyone to grow in their garden, simply because it produces a lot of leafy greens and it doesn't have any problems with most critters. You will see worms, loopers on it sometimes, but it's very easy to spot and remove them. And as you can see here, these kale leaves look very healthy. Now for some interesting additions to my garden. So my neighbor gave me this plant, and he just gave me a little stem and told me to stick it in the ground so that it grows into this plant. And this plant actually grew pretty well. It has leaves that are very nicely scented, and he told me that he used it in his tea. So I tried it and the tea was very delicious. Now can you guess the name of this plant? Well, I was at Lowe's the other day, and it seems like this plant is called the Citronella or the mosquito plant. Now it's also called as scented geranium, and a lot of people use this plant in preparing jams and jellies and teas. So it's a great plant to grow in your garden. The second interesting addition to our garden is the sweet marjoram plant, and this is also called as maru in some countries. It's a very fragrant plant. If you grow this plant in your garden, just walk around the plant, you're gonna get a nice aroma. These leaves smell really nice. And this plant is a perennial plant in California, zones 9 and above. And this plant adds a nice subtle flavor to other vegetables as well as salads. And there is another herb which is called Italian oregano. Now this is very similar to the sweet marjoram, but the sweet marjoram is a milder version of the Italian oregano. And the Dancy tangerines are growing really well, and this is the harvest season for all the tangerines. December, January and February are the months when you can harvest these. As you can see, really good formed fruits. And I love growing this tangerine variety because it just produces a lot of tangerines in a dwarf plant. They do have seeds though, it's not a seedless variety, but this is one of the tangerines that I can highly recommend because of its taste. The tangerines taste amazing, and as you can see here, even this dwarf plant, there are a lot of tangerines that are produced. And those are all the tangerines that we harvested in a single day, and there are still a lot of tangerines on the tree. So January is the time to start your tomato seeds. If you haven't already started your tomato seeds, this is a good time. The tomato seedlings will grow for about a couple of months till March, when they're ready to be transplanted outside. You can even grow them in the greenhouse. Now the temperatures are so low here, they're below 40s, and I will see if I can try and germinate these seeds in the greenhouse. If not, I'll probably get them inside, grow them on heating mats. There are seed heating mats that allow better germination of tomato seeds. But in any case, you should have started your tomato seeds by now. So there we have it. That was our tour of the California garden in January. I hope you liked this video. If you have any comments, suggestions, do let me know. Give us a thumbs up if you like this video, and I'll see you again soon. Happy gardening.